12th of July, 1191, Acre. On the citadel of Acre, the Crusaders hoisted their flag. Acre has fallen to the Crusaders after 2 years of Muslim resistance. The Crusaders captured almost 2,600 Muslim soldiers. Saladin offered to negotiate terms in order to rescue the captured soldiers, but the Crusaders refused. All the Muslim soldiers were butchered by the Crusaders, one after another. Blood of the Muslim soldiers flooded the streets, and thus began the Third Crusade with Muslim defeat in Acre.
This is the story of Saladin from Islamic history perspective.
By September of 1187, the Muslim army under the leadership of Saladin reached the outskirts of Jerusalem. After the Muslims crushed the Crusaders in the Battle of Athene, most of the Crusader territories came to Muslim hands without much fighting or bloodshed. Only two big cities, Jerusalem and Tyre, were still under Crusader control. Now Saladin focused all his might to liberate Jerusalem from the Crusaders. When the Crusaders took Jerusalem in 1099, they slaughtered almost all the Muslims and Jews of the city. The Christians inside Jerusalem were afraid that Saladin would do the same, so they did not surrender when the Muslims arrived. Saladin ordered his troops to lay siege and to start bombarding the walls of Jerusalem. After 5 days of continuous attack from the trebuchets, the defense of Jerusalem started to crack. They proposed to surrender if Saladin would promise safety to every Christian of the city. Saladin also had no intention of committing unnecessary bloodshed in the holy city, so he accepted the surrender of the Christians. On Friday, October 2nd in 1187, Jerusalem officially came to Muslim hands. During the Crusader occupation, Al-Aqsa was used as the headquarters for the Templar Knights, and no Muslim was allowed to pray there. So after almost 88 years, the Muslims could pray again in the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Saladin restored the status of the Islamic buildings in Jerusalem, but he did not harm any Christian holy sites. Following the tradition of Umar ibn Khattab anhu in 638, when Muslims took control of Jerusalem for the first time, Nur ad-Din once made a minbar for Al-Aqsa Mosque, hoping that one day he will place it in the mosque after liberating Jerusalem. Showing respect to the legacy of Nur ad-Din, Saladin brought that minbar from Aleppo and placed it inside Al-Aqsa. Saladin kept his promise. He showed kindness and did not harm any non-Muslim resident of Jerusalem. Those who wanted to leave were also allowed to leave without any trouble. But the news of Muslims retaking Jerusalem shook the core of papal seat in Rome. The Pope requested all the kings and lords of Europe to join forces and occupy Jerusalem again. On hearing the Pope's request, many European rulers decided to march to Jerusalem. The mightiest of these rulers were Richard of England, Philip Augustus of France, and Frederick Barbarossa of Germany. In the following 2 years, they gathered soldiers and resources to send the largest Crusader army ever to the Holy Lands. In the meantime, Saladin was also anticipating attacks from Europe. He tried his absolute best to fortify the position of Muslim army. He knew that the Crusaders would try to land in the only Crusader port city remaining in the Holy Lands, Tyre. So he brought a huge army to capture the city. For 6 months straight, Saladin tried everything he could possibly do to capture Tyre. But luck did not favor him this time. The defense of Tyre was too strong for the Muslims. Saladin's troops were exhausted. They needed help. So Saladin wrote to the Caliph in Baghdad for help. But the Caliph was already jealous of Saladin's recent success, and so no help came to the Muslims from Baghdad. Seeing no other way, Saladin retreated with his troops and started fortifying the defense of other cities in the region. But Saladin made a crucial mistake during that time. During the surrender of Ascalon, Saladin promised the Crusaders to release Guy from captivity, provided that he would leave the Holy Lands forever once released. But after the release, Guy broke his promise and gathered soldiers from the remaining Crusader lands and attacked Acre. His army was not strong enough to take the city, but they could blockade the city from all sides. So Saladin had to stop with his plan for resisting the Crusaders and took his army to Acre. Thus began the main events of the Third Crusade. After getting the news of Muslim army marching to Acre, the Crusaders dug trenches and made barricades around their camps. Once the Muslims arrived, they encircled the whole Crusader line. So a 3-layer siege started. For almost 2 years, both sides launched attacks after attacks on each other, but neither side could gain any advantage. By this time, Muslim soldiers were very tired after years of battles. Saladin was also in shortage of supplies for his army. He sent letters after letters to the Muslim leaders asking for help, but none of the leaders from other parts of the Muslim world came to help Saladin and his troops. In the summer of 1191, Crusader troops from England and France started to arrive. Only the troops from Germany did not come, as Barbarossa died on his way to the Holy Lands. Once the European Crusaders joined the Crusaders attacking Acre, their strength became too big for the Muslim defenders of the city. The Crusaders attacked Acre from all sides. Saladin tried his level best from the outer layer to stop the Crusaders. He attacked them several times but could not defeat the Crusaders. In the end, a part of the wall of Acre collapsed. The Crusaders rushed in. The Muslim defenders inside the city decided not to surrender, but to fight to the last drop of blood. They made sure that they would do as much damage to the Crusaders as possible before they die. So it took the Crusaders 9 days to capture Acre. They had to fight for every building, every street, and every inch of the city. But unfortunately, in the end, the Crusaders took the city back from Muslim hands. And as a punishment for the heroic resistance of the Muslims, Richard of England ordered his soldiers to kill every captured Muslim soldier. All 2,600 of them. Saladin and the rest of his troops could do nothing but helplessly observe the massacre with heavy hearts from the outer layer. Join us next time as Saladin and Richard bring their army face to face for one of the most significant clashes between the Muslims and the Christians.